very, very powerful pick. In the meantime, we have finished picks and bans. On blue team, we have banned out Yasuo, Nasus, and Renekton. I'm actually surprised. I haven't seen a lot of top laners banned in a while, and the reasoning for that being is there's so many strong mid laners. Gragas, Kassadin, Yasuo, LeBlanc. There's just a lot of priority bans being thrown at mid lane these days, and a couple towards jungle. That top lane has sort of been overlooked in a lot of these games. So it's interesting to see that banned out. I'm assuming it... Wait a second. Okay, that is a mid lane Jace. I had to think for a moment. I'm assuming it's more just communication with team that they went for that, or it's possible that he plays a lot top lane and is frustrated dealing with these champions. Either way, they're fine. I don't have any complaints about them. It just is a surprise to me. On purple team, they have banned out Vi, Blitzcrank, and Kassadin. I've spoken to death about the fact that I think Blitzcrank is a waste of a ban. He's okay. He's very, very potent if played well. But he has a lot of weaknesses. Just play Thresh at that point, and you'll be better 99 times out of 100. As far as team comp goes, they have a mid Jace, a jungle Olaf, a support Leona, a top lane Jax, and a Vayne AD carry. Vayne has fallen out of favor. She's still very good if she gets ahead, and very good late game. Jax has slightly started to come back. I think he's going to continue to come back into favor as tank top laners are bullied out a little bit as they're nerfed. So they have a very good late game team. Really, all of their champions are late game, but it's interesting, and it's going to be a challenge to see how they survive the mid game and how well they're able to transition into that sort of late game hyper carry status on those two or four champions. Really, all of them are really potent late game. On purple side, though, they have a top lane Riven, another champion who's not played that often anymore, but is still very good if played well and if she snowballs. A Nami Quinn bot lane, which is a very high kill potential lane. Quinn is not very good late game, though, so they really do have to snowball, and they do need to pull off a lot of early plays if they want that to work. A Mumu jungle, which he's coming back into favor. He's a really strong pick, but there are better junglers out there right now. Vi, Kha'Zix, Elise, Lee Sin are probably the best four junglers right now, and a Mumu kind of gets destroyed by most of them if he's caught out and if he's forced to duel. And then I believe this is closing out, but the last pick was Talon. Yet another champion that's not played that much anymore that is very, very strong if he gets ahead. So we kind of have the late game team versus the early game snowballing team. And so
Amumu has waves where people sort of remember how to jungle, how to track his movements and bait him, and then people forget after a few months, and he has a resurgence and everyone has to relearn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to me because the teams are so very different. We have the hyper-scaling blue team where literally everyone on their team late game is an absolute monster. Like, Jace is a lot weaker than he once was, but arguing that Jace is not good late game is laughable. He has some really good skills if played well. He's just a little bit less abusive than he once was with his old kit, or his pre-nerfed kit. It's not necessarily a different one, it's just now you can't just shock blast everything and hope to win. Jax, Vayne, absolute monsters, and Olaf, highly, highly undervalued. He was seeing a lot of play in the OGN, and started to come over to North America. People thought he was really, really strong, and then he vanished. He's not really been changed, it's that there was a little bit of a meta shift, and so people moved away from him. But he is very strong late game. And he's going to be able to just ignore any CC coming in from the enemy team. And if he gets ahead, he's going to be able to kill pretty much anyone on the enemy team. He's going to be pretty much unstoppable, but only if he gets ahead, if they make it to that late game. Do any of you have comments on the general team comps there?
I'm a big fan of Quinn. I've actually been playing Quinn a lot in solo queue lately. I have about an 80% win rate with her. And Quinn's a really undervalued champion. She is a bit, she does need some bug fixes. I would like to see some changes to her kit overall. But most people don't know how to play against her. Her blind is extremely strong in bot lane. Valor, offensively, is one of the best duelists in the game. So against Vayne, another very short-range champion, I'm expecting to see Quinn, especially with a Nami by her side, be a force to be reckoned with this game. Whether she can turn that early game kill potential into a lasting presence all game is another thing altogether, however.
Jax is running TP, so With Ignite, it's more so of a skill matchup, but with TP, it means he's either going to be heavy reliant on his jungler, or he's going to try to just heavily static farm under his turret and freeze the wave.
Yeah, now that being said, Jax's early matchups aren't nearly what they once were. He's pretty much forced to play that static farm as you described it, where you just kind of try not to fight, pick up what farm you can, and wait on jungler ganks. So I'm okay with him taking teleport because he needs to have that map presence really felt. My complaint here, Riven's gone for red pot. That does not seem like a good idea.
I don't know about that.
Red Pot Ribbon used to be big in the days before they really hit her early game, where you were essentially gambling that you could translate your early game, like overwhelming stats, into a kill. Now that they've kind of hit her early game, hit her base stats, hit her health regen, Red Pot's an extremely risky early pick.
And they've reduced the gold from early kills so much that even if you get that perfect level 1, level 2 fight where you get first blood, it doesn't even pay for the red pot. Like, it's such low gold.
Right, and of course, a red pot doesn't turn in anything.
Yeah.
That takes what I said completely out the window. Jax could play pretty aggressive here then.
Well, you still don't want to play aggressively versus the red pot Riven.
Not overly aggressive, but...
Yeah, he has the opportunity to go aggressive.
Right.
I would have gone Doran's Shield on Leona. Doran's Shield's broken right now. Until it's nerfed, there's no reason to go any other starting item. Nami, on the other side, Spell Thief's Edge. Never build Spell Thief's Edge. It's so bad right now. Like, I love harass supports. I love zoning people with auto attacks and just very, very aggressive positioning and gameplay. But if you're going to go gold per 10 item start, like, there's just never a reason to build Spell Thieves in the current meta.
I think Pro can almost agree with me that on supports right now, it's almost really, really efficient to start Doran's Shield on almost every support and then pick up your gold per 10 item on your first back.
If you ever even build a gold per 10 item.
If you ever, correct, yeah. Which is almost always Ancient Quinn currently.
Yeah. Apparently in pro level play right now, they've completely stopped building gold per 10 items. Like, it's kind of silly, where they
I'm
just...
still seeing Talisman of Accession picked up really often in OGN.
Yeah, it's still definitely picked... Oh, great stun coming in, and that's going to be first blood over there. I don't know why they played so aggressively versus a Leona. That's a really large misplay. But what I'm seeing a lot of supports start to do, if you don't pick Doran's Shield, you lose the lane. Like, if you're versus a competent opponent, if you don't start Doran's Shield, you have lost all ability to trade. There's no viable start besides Doran's Shield until they nerf it. But even if you're going to build something else, Spell Thieves' Edge is never the gold per 10 item you build. As you said, yes, gold per 10 is still often built, but a lot of people are opting to just go for Sightstone. And they don't build gold per 10 during the laning phase, they build it late game for the active, not for the gold generation.
Right, yep, absolutely.
So, we see Riven trying to get into the jungle here. I believe he's gambling on the fact that he's thinking Olaf would have started red. Olaf started blue, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but regardless, the buff is gone. He's not going to be able to get anything from that. Someone in chat is arguing that, well, Spell Thieves' Edge is actually pretty good if you're playing Cassiopeia support. Yeah, but you're not going to play Cassiopeia support. We see Jax getting a gank here.
Aggressive.
Flash comes out, she's going to be able to walk away, but that's a great advantage for Jax now push. The red pot hasn't been used.
To the wall, forced to flash. Then goes aggressive, takes the tower hit, and almost dies. Forced to flash as well. Jax going aggressive on top lane. Olaf with the gank. Olaf picks up with the red buff.
So interesting to me that Jace is winning early, like quite heavily versus Talon. That's not overly surprising. Oh, I forgot to comment on his starting build. On Talon, I pretty much have always seen Talon start with a flask because he's mana hungry. He needs to survive laning phase. He needs to be able to spam his skills and scale up until he has his ult. And starting a longsword is incredibly aggressive versus someone you're not going to be able to fight. If you jump onto Jace, he's just going to hammer you backwards and pretty much just kill you.
I agree. If you start longsword on Talon, it's almost saying I'm 100% sure I'm gonna get a kill really early on.
Yeah, and versus Jace,
Otherwise,
that's not going
there's
to happen.
absolutely no reason to start longsword. Yep.
Interesting. Originally, he picked up a second longsword and then decided, I'd rather have sustain. So he's gone for the double rejuve beat build. He does want that early, the really, really early Hydra. Jack's getting ganked now. Riven comes in, lands the stun. Both. Oh no. Riven did back out, so she didn't get stunned, but not able to follow through. If I were them, I would have had a Mumu backing towards the turret a little bit, so you can kind of cut them off. And then Jax has to choose between people to stun.
Bane going aggressive on Nami at bottom. Looks like she's about to pick up this kill. Very easily picked up.
That's a really early Cutlass. Riven trying to roam down, catches out Olaf and blows his ghost. I really like what Riven's doing, where she's shoving up really, really hard and then trying to make a play elsewhere on the map. They haven't worked out overly well for her so far, but it's a good
aggressive
decision.
On bottom lane again. Been brought very low.
Talon is constantly walking into Jace's combo. You need to treat it almost like an AoE Nidalee, where most of his damage and his kill potential comes from being able to land these shock blasts and then turn your low health into a way to just all in and kill you. Jack's almost able to stun, not the mana to land a leap strike though. I do want to pay a little bit more attention to bot lane here. Every time I look down, it's basically purple team walks into lane, Leona goes really, really deep, and they either land a kill or force them back. So it's very difficult to commentate on that lane, besides, well, you picked a carry that kind of had to snowball early, and you're suffering for it.
Yep, it's happening again.
Yep, every single time. They're just going to constantly get fought, and they're always going to lose that fight. That's what happens when you pick Quinn.
Overly aggressive, takes couple tower hits, and dies.
Okay, and at this point, Vayne's level 6, so she's going to win this fight. There's almost no way she's going to lose. Ult comes in, and that's going to be yet... Oh! A little bit of a bad tumble there coming in. It still goes down, though. But that's a little bit off.
Olaf going deep on Riven. Should be able to easily pick up this kill.
Yeah, good decision to go up there knowing that you do have your ult to remove any form of CC. If I were him, though, he'd just sweepered that bush. He knows there's no one in it. Why not just recall there?
I agree. Looks like he's going to go back to jungling, though, instead of recalling.
Olaf can jungle very, very low health. It's one of his best strengths. But, I don't know. I'm also expecting him to give this blue over, but it doesn't look like he's going to. Nope. He wants all the beer for himself. So I want to see, I'm expecting the exact same thing to happen here. Quinn's auto-attacking, pushing up. Leona's just going to engage.
Yep,
boom, that's going to be a dead Nami.
Boom.
And I hate to pick on Quinn, because I know you like her as a champion, Requiem, but this is what happens when you try and use her in the AD carry role. If you do not snowball, if you do not run it like a kill lane, you're kind of, it's a lost lane at that point, because she doesn't have the real utility, scaling, and safety that other Flavor of the Month AD carries offer to really play when behind. Riven trying to roam down yet again. This would be a really good kill opportunity. There is level 6 coming up from Talon, but he does not seem to want to fight. It's possible that was a communication issue, and if so, that boils down to just like you need to let your team know what you're doing, and you need to be on the same page. But they should have been able to kill that. Olaf comes in, finds a very angry Riven, and Riven's going to go down very quickly. Jax now responding with his own roam. If I were Jax, I would be staying top lane and trying to push this tower. Jax is a great tower threat, and he really does need to get his core items if he wants to become that sort of hyper carry. That being said,
Waited a little too long to go in there.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was trying to bait a full engage. Tower does go down. Vayne
very low.
She's going to live because she can just auto-attack the minions for lifesteal.
Yeah.
Olaf does need someone to help him with this dragon, but they should be able to take it. If Leona gets in there quickly enough, she'll be able to tank, and he'll just lifesteal right back up. Yeah, there we go. In the meantime, they go deep onto Jack's mid lane. Ignite is burned by Talon. Ult is burned by Talon. Nothing's going to come of it, though. So Riven now is left alone in top lane. Jack's still mid. He's low. He's not getting farm here. He needs to find somewhere else to go. He's too low to try and join a teamfight even if one does break out. And in the meantime, he's going to lose his tower.
Jax's time is being wasted mid.
Yeah, looks like Olaf is going to save the tower. But yeah, there's just no reason for him to be here. Dragon's gone. Your team doesn't need help holding the tower. Go farm and turn into that late game monster. Nami standing right on a ward. I don't know why she's standing here in the jungle. There's nothing for her there. Leona comes down, they're going to chain the stuns, and that kill is going to go over to Jax, continuing his snowball.
Yep, and Olaf is 1v1ing the Riven in top lane, going very aggressive under turret, taking multiple tower hits. Knight is taking down. Whoa, he lives with a sliver of health though.
Yeah, I think it was about 20 health he ended up with. Some really good life still coming in. He should be fine to get out.
Riven gets pinned to the wall by Vayne and taken out.
Jace is doing a really good job here, just in how he's sort of just bullying this lane. He's refusing to fully engage or fully commit to a fight, and as a result is able to punish Talon. Every time Talon tries to go in, he shock blasts him to the face. He's destroying any ability he has to farm. Blue buff is stolen. No, actually, he was able to smite it. Or was he? Okay, I'm blind. I thought Jax took it originally, but no, Jace was able to pick up the blue buff with his shock blast. Great steal. Denying blue buff from either Talon or Amumu is pretty important. It's an important resource to deny. And having it on Jace is very powerful. I disagree with his choice to go Tear the Goddess, though. Tear the Goddess is a late game build, so it does fit with their team comp, but it really does gimp any mid-game fights that you're going to try and have. It takes forever to stack up these days. Riven left to push top lane. In the meantime, they're just going to try and siege this tower. They may be able to trade towers here, but someone should be responding to this. Like, they've just left Riven up in that lane for so long. She's now 20 CS ahead, and she may even get this tower. Yeah, that tower's definitely gone. She keeps sort of trying to go for it and then backs out, and then tries to go for it and backs out. Nice, so Jax is barely able to save that. If I were Riven, I would just stay to auto-attack it a couple times and then left.
Vayne gets caught out by a Amumu. Vayne was very deep.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit cocky with their bot lane. Obviously, Vayne is 8-1 and 2. She's incredibly fed. She's incredibly far ahead. But that's not an excuse to try and 1v5. Cockiness does tend to throw games, and I'm not saying by any means that it will do so this game, but...
Test?
Yes, hi there.
Okay, excellent. My mumble had froze, so I am actually able to speak now.
Okay. I will accept that.
With Quinn, I want to discuss Quinn's general level strategy. I believe Quinn is leveling E, her vault, and that's her burst skill. That's where her burst comes from. Unfortunately, E is interruptible when you're mid-vault, which means Leona can stun you, Vayne can condemn you. So it's an extremely high-risk skill, and there's little chance of reaping that reward. If I were Quinn in ADC, I would be taking Quinn top. But if I were playing Quinn ADC, I would be leveling her blind, and that's a risk-free way to lay down damage and to disengage or start a fight with Vayne. Secondly, I would be leveling W. W Heightened Senses seems like an odd pick, but it gives you free stats when you attack a vulnerable target, and more importantly, it buffs Valor immensely.
The biggest factor to why bot lane is being won so hard is the Leona factor.
Yeah.
Oh, Leona, absolutely. So when you have Valor as a bruiser and that free blind, Quinn is able to have the early game presence she so desperately needs.
I have a critique for Vayne top lane. She did a really good job going into the bush, using her ult, and trying to set up a fight, because Jax had to go fight her at that point. But she then used her combo and died before she could ever actually use the active portion of her ult. I get that you want to get him as low health as possible and use it as an assassination tool, but you just needed to deal damage that Amumu was going to be able to pick up the kill. You needed to kill him as quickly as possible. Interrupt everything you can. Hell, use your W in bush so that you can land the knock-up followed by the stun. Overlapping that, interrupting his auto attacks, will save you for longer. And then, again, make sure you use the ult before you die, or that's wasted damage.
Purple team taking down top tower, they still have a 10k gold difference.
I'm very surprised that Leona hasn't been banned in any of these games.
Leona is a champion who I don't think is inherently OP. I think she's the result of a meta that desperately needs changing. I think there needs to be buffs to traditional supports like Janna, like Soraka. I think there need to be changes to early game items such as D-Shield, which is going through. I don't think Leona is inherently broken. I think that she is in an odd spot due to current metagame.
One of the core reasons as to why Leona is so strong right now is because she's one of the best supports that synergizes with the Doran's shield.
Oh, exactly. She abuses Doran's shield, and she abuses all-in lane bullies. And if you look at what carries are popular right now, well, you have Lucian, you have Jinx, and both of them work incredibly well with Leona. And then you have Caitlyn, who's sort of debatable how well she works with Leona, but anyone does right now. It's so much CC, it's so much tankiness, it's so much damage.
Leona and Thresh are basically the god tiers of bot lane right now.
Right. They're going to be doing D-Shield and starting item nerfs, and then they're going to be looking at Leona and Thresh. Morello said he thinks Leona will be fine and those nerfs will be enough, but Thresh will probably need another round with the nerf that.
And that's what I said last season about Leona, is that Leona is a fine pick if you are picking a lane that can snowball. But last season, Leona wasn't so OP, and it was because she had risk involved. She wasn't an invulnerable lane bully like she is this season.
Also, I want to discuss Janna. Janna is Leona's lane counter, and we've seen Janna's win rate spike by 5% just in the time when Leona became perma-pick. And that's because Janna can just knock her out of Zenith Blade with a Q, she can disengage, and so on. But Janna's kind of weak right now in general. She's not in a great spot. So if we're seeing buffs to traditional supports, I think Leona will suddenly not be the most amazing thing on Earth.
Thresh also provides a soft counter to Leona being able to play her Zenith Blade, but it's kind of interesting that you say Morello is looking into nerfing Thresh, because just 2 patches ago, they removed a counterplay from Thresh, which was used to be able to place a pink ward on top of Thresh's lantern to prevent it from being picked up, and they gave the lantern a small AoE now, where it has unit collision, and you can no longer do that, so the lantern can always be picked up.
And honestly, I really liked that counterplay. I hated Thresh before that, but at least it was one of those things like if your team's playing well, there are counters to his goddamn stupid lantern. I hate it so much.
Right,
you can land as much CC as you want, but if you don't kill them during the CC,
really decided to buff Thresh. Standing on it was like, that made sense. Like, somebody's blocking the lantern. To me, that makes sense from a gameplay perspective, and it makes sense from, like, logic. Like, that is something a new player can easily pick up. Being like, no, you can always click it. To me, that's That's a bit silly.
Yeah, you still sort of can block it, but it's a lot harder and a lot less effective. And you can't do it with items or minions.
Unfortunately, Certainly T is just a designer who loads his champions up with stats. His first champion, I believe, was Darius, who shipped with mixed true damage, magic damage, and physical damage. And since then, he's come out with Thresh and Yasuo, and I believe just saying those champion names is enough. Like,
See, I like all of his champions. I don't necessarily play them, but I think they're really cool and unique. But yeah, they're so overloaded.
I would rather have like a Thresh and a Yasuo than, I don't know, a boring champion that just points and clicks. Like, I would rather have a Thresh than an Eteric any day of the week. That being said, you could probably cut a lot of invisible power from that, or just by paring down.
Yeah. I want to point out, we haven't really been talking about the game that much, and that's because it's so one-sided at this point. It's just boiling down to blue team ending the game. Purple team has done a couple okay engages, and they've done a couple misplays. But I think all of the misplays they've done at this point, we've kind of touched on earlier in the game. It boils down to team comp, it boils down to them having to snowball early, and unfortunately they fell behind early, and that just leaves their team comp pretty much useless.
Some games you're behind and you can come back from them. We discussed with the earlier game with blue and purple team strategies that the losing team could have taken to come back, and the strategies that they could have done to turn their losing thing around. Then there are games where unfortunately you're out of options. Perhaps you picked an early game champion like Caitlyn or Quinn and you just lost to a late game champion like Jinx or Vayne.
Or Trist.
Or Tristana, right? Sometimes you've just lost the game. And I think it's interesting that we can talk about what do you do when you're in a lost game. And I feel like sometimes you can rage, you can throw your computer out the window, you can go, my team fucking sucks, GG. And other times you can look at it as a stress-free opportunity to practice mechanics.
Yeah, and it's also a really good opportunity to practice split pushing and map awareness, where you're saying, okay, what are they doing right now? They're going to get an advantage. It's probably even going to win them the game. But can I pull off a tower? Can I pull off 3 waves of farm? Whatever it is, see what you can pick up in that time. And that skill can easily be translated into future games, where split pushing will easily win the entire match.
Right, split pushing is, I think, super interesting because with split pushing at low levels, no one knows how to react to it. It's considered very cheesy almost. People just get very blinded to someone split pushing, and it becomes relevant. It's still a relevant strategy all the way up to the tournament level. So when you're in a game and your team is just not pulling fights together, certainly consider split pushing and seeing what you can do around the map.
Exactly, and yeah, there we go, that's game. I thought they were going to stall it out for one more. That's unfortunate that it was a little bit one-sided, but again, it's a learning environment. I also would like to point out to people who are new to the stream, who weren't in for the original first game today, I want to remind you that these are learning games. This is designed to be a somewhat stress-free environment where you can just try and improve your play. You're here to learn. You're admitting, okay, I have areas to improve in. So try and avoid raging. Try and avoid tying success to win and loss. Instead, try and focus on what can I learn from this game? What can I do better next game? And what mistakes did I personally make? And